All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Le Mans. 2 stints are in the books. I've been your host, Insane Leader 13, covering the C lobby thus far. Stint 1 had a lot of instants on circuit, and a very interesting fight for second to the end. Stint 2 was a little bit calmer, way fewer incidents, but there was a pretty interesting fight in the prototype category until about the last 10 minutes, where it finally sorted itself out. Now we come down to Stint 3, and things are going to be a little bit different. The sun is starting to go down. The track is losing temperature. Why does that matter? Well, on a circuit where you spend so much time running in a straight line, the front tires are going to be losing tire temps when they're not turning, they're not having brakes put on them. Likewise, you're also going to see some tire temp fall off from the rear tires as well, as you spend more and more time in the straightaways. There is a possibility that the handling of the cars will get significantly worse going into the braking zones at the end of the longer straightaways here. Beyond that, though, there's not like going to be a whole lot of other change. The track's already completely rubbered in, or about as rubbered in as it reasonably can be right now, and the field still has all 23 starters right now. The order is now going to be set based on how the field finished in Stint 1. So you're going to have Hersici 96 in first, MRS Valtria in second, Nibbles Biscuit third, Stinky Potato fourth, LMP Ragnar fifth, Forzarelli in sixth, Lear Art seventh, Momonica eighth. Then in the GT category will be PTG Stewsby, followed by Scanco, Kimi, Polza, Palooza, Perez, Cocho, it will be Polza, then Suicine. After that it will be Suicine, then Arius Magnus in the second of the Chevrolets. After that will be White Wolf. Then you have Boiled Bird 88, followed by Byron PRG, Crazy Cowlin 949. That'll be the lone Porsche entry. Then it will be HYZ Kachu. After that will be Leo Perez. Then it will be Macy K Extra, followed by BRT Palooza and Dukefly, as we prepare to load onto the circuit for Stint 3 out of 12 for today's Le Mans event. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the lights are now on here at the track and for the cars here at Le Mans. So this is realistically going to be our first night stint of the event here. It will be single file pace speed until they come under the Dunlop Bridge. And then once they hit the Dunlop Bridge, we will be green. Going to be Hershey, followed by MRS Valtria. Now, second place is not usually done very good on these starts and restarts, but will that change this time? We hit the green, and no, it looks like again is the leader who scoots away. Hershey opens up a gap on Valtria immediately, but it does look like overall the hypercars stay in nice single formation. Now Valtria's got to run back on Hershey. Hershey's had a bit of a hiccup though, and now they're going to be side by side as they come onto the straight. A little bit of door-to-door contact, only 3 wide now. Immediately the hypercars get angsty. It only took a quarter and a half, and they're side by side for a lead with Nibbles Biscuit right behind them. Hershey, Valtria in a perfect dead heat. Drag race down the first of the straightaways here. Nibbles Biscuit right behind, but does not seem to be interested in making it 3 wide. What about Stinky Potato? Stinky Potato might up between each other so they don't end up causing an accident. And it does look like Hirschi just barely holds it over Valtria, but Nibbles Biscuit missed the traction zone on the way out, and he's gonna fall out of the top 5 now. All right, so Hirschi leads Valtria in second now, and now we have Stinky Potato third, Forza Relly in fourth, and Monica 97 in fifth now. And Ragnar has fallen back, and he's had an accident. That's the LMP car. The LMP hypercar that had come home in second in Stint 2 has had an accident in the very first chicane, and immediately the LMP team's day goes from bad to worse out here. They are now going to fall to last place on track, I imagine, with how much damage that car has. Meanwhile, in the GT Key category, it is Scan Code 07 who leads now, and they are just barely behind. Was Learart the other driver involved in that? Yes, he was. Learart also has significant damage as well. He's just barely limping ahead of the GT drivers right now. So we are already pruning our hypercar group down from 8 to 6, it seems. You can see Learart has to pull completely off circuit and let the GT drivers by because the level of damage on that car is so extreme. He didn't want to run the risk of missing the braking zone and crashing into one of the GT cars as well. But at the front, Valtria is going to get by Hirschi in Indianapolis. And now they come down to Arnage. Stinky Potato right there in third, watching this go by. It does seem like the run to Indianapolis has been the favorite spot for hypercars to try and make moves. Valtria didn't have a great time coming out of Arnage. Hirschi is right there. Does Hirschi try to line up a shot going into the Porsche curves now? So Ragnar and Learart involved in an accident going through the first chicane. Here we are, side by side for a lead in hypercars. It looked like Valtria's rear end slipped down on him, but they're still side by side as they go into the Porsche curves. Really side by side. There's almost no room. There's some door-to-door contact between the two of them. A lot of contact. They're all sorts of all over the place. There's 3 wide now. Here comes Stinky Potato. Potato's gonna go through into second. Slides. Big slide. Hits the outside wall in the process. Hits it again. Grinding against the outside wall. Is there damage? Yes, there is. Significant damage. 3 different hypercars have had an accident in the first lap here in Stint 3. Well, for Stinky Potato, at least it was right next to the pit entry, so that's going to negate some of the time loss. It is now Valtria leading still, but Monica is now second. Third is Forza Relly, and your top starter, your pole sitter for this Stint, Hirschi, is now fallen out of the podium positions. Kimmy 7, a man of the midnight, has gotten back to the top spot now in the Chevrolet. Scan Code 07 is the highest of the Mustangs, and AFZ Polza in this BMW that has been the best of the BMW Mafia today is running in third right now. But it has been chaos in the hypercar field early on, side by side between Scan Code and Kimmy, it looks like. And it looks like Scan Code's just muscled his way by Kimmy after Kimmy compromised his line coming out of the 4 chicanes. Under the Dunlop Bridge, they've completed 1 full lap of racing now. So it is Scan Code, Kimmy, Polza, your top 3, and in 4th place is that Porsche of Crazy Callan. So 4 different manufacturers in the top 4 positions right now. Well, top 4 positions in GT at least. Nibbles Biscuit has also lost touch with the top 4, so we have 4 hypercars all right on top of each other at the head of the field, but the other 4 have all been involved in accidents and lost time. For Nibbles Biscuit, he may be 5th, but he's still doing way better than having a lap 1 accident. Side by side between Monica and Valtria now as they go into the second of the Mulsanne chicanes. A little bit of contact, big twitch there by Monica after hitting Valtria. And the rear end is just kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do. And now Valtria is going to take the lead, but is under threat from Forza Relly as Forza Relly pulls up alongside Monica and has the draft to maybe make a move on Valtria as they come down into the Mulsanne corner. Side by side for a second, but does not turn to side by side for a lead. In fact, if anything, Forza Relly actually backs out there. Oh, Valtria hit the dirt just a bit on the outside there, but it compromised their exit speed, and now Monica is coming back with a run again. And Hirschi has now got a run back on Forza Relly as well. Side by side for first, side by side for third. It is 2 by 2 at the head of the prototype field now as they're firing off to Indianapolis once again. Somebody has to back out. Who's it gonna be? Looks like Forza Relly really backed out big time there. But it looks like all of our prototypes get through Indianapolis and Arnage without too much issue. Oh no, I take that back! That's another accident! That's another accident! It's Valtria this time! Who got turned by Forzarelli! There's no damage. Well, there's a little bit of transmission damage, but there's no catastrophic damage on the car. Valtria will be able to continue, but they have now lost touch with what is now the top three of Mamonica, Forzarelli, and Hershey. And even then, Mamonica has now pulled away from Forzarelli and Hershey. So, 5 different prototype drivers of the 8 involved in an accident in the first few laps, and Stinky Potato is now losing ground to GT drivers. Stinky Potato may have had a spin of his own that I've missed as well. Valtria very fortunate to have gotten away from that hook and turn from Forzarelli with no damage there. But yeah, all of a sudden we are down to only having 3 hypercars, or 3 prototype cars that have not had some sort of accident or incident thus far. Hershey is in third, started on pole. Ryan just a little is lost touch though with Forzarelli by the looks of it. So could Mamonica pull off a win here just by virtue of being cleaner and greener in the earlier stage of the race? We're only 9 minutes in. We have had 5 prototypes, 5 hypercars be involved in accidents. It is absurd how this has turned out. Meanwhile, in the GT category, your leader is that green and black Mustang. I believe this is the car that has the greatest distance overall thus far. It is Scan Code with Kimmy right behind, followed by Polza and Crazy Cowlin. So 4 different manufacturers in the top 4 spots right now in the GT category, with White Wolf a little bit farther back, the highest repeat manufacturer in another one of the BMWs right now. So this group of 4 GT cars is going to be really interesting to see what they do when they get onto the straightaways, because that Chevy has got some fantastic straight line speed. You give him that and the draft, Kimmy is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And now as we come down to the nighttime hours, Kimmy, a man of the midnight, going to try and steal a stint win here. But they're all just kind of holding each other up and running each other over in these slower quarters. This is where it comes down to it. Ooh, Polza didn't have a great run coming onto the straightaway. Callan's going to get alongside Polza there for third in GT. Down the straightaway now. Scan Code has lead. Kimmy wants it. Callan's completed the overtake on Polza. So that Porsche cracks the podium now. Does Kimmy make for a big lunge? He's looking to the inside, looking on the right-hand side. He pulls alongside. He's going for it. Although he does have to get on the brakes nice and early. The Porsche goes for a move as well. Can't make it stick. But look at this. Kimmy goes into the lead in the GT category. And now Scan Code is going to have to try and fight back while dealing with Callan behind it. Look at this. White Wolf in the next highest. BMW has now caught it. It is now a 5-way fight at the top of the GT field now. Here comes the move. Scan Code trying to wrap it the long way around Kimmy. Can't quite complete the overtake by the time they get to the braking zone, but he'll go deeper anyway. Kimmy was a little bit more reserved and gives Scan Code the lead back now. But now Kimmy is the one who will have the draft once more as they come out of the corner and fly down the following straight. Coming up to the heaviest braking zone again. That is Mulsanne Corner. Scan Code to the outside. Kimmy to the inside. No, I got that backwards. Kimmy outside. Scan Code inside. And Kimmy almost completes the overtake. They make a little bit of contact between the two of them on exit. And Callan had a run, but hit the dirt and compromised his run a little bit. This duo still side by side. And we ride on board with Callan as he looks at these two, and it looks like the Mustang just can't quite clear the Chevrolet in the straightaway here. All right, into Indianapolis Arnage. Who's going to back out of it? We swap to right on board with White Wolf. He looks at his 4 cars all on the plate on top of each other just ahead. White Wolf is like, I don't know what you all are doing, but please leave me out of it. But it looks like they'll all make it through Indianapolis without too much issue this time by. Although the BMW of Polza does touch the dirt a bit there. Now through Arnage. Kimmy holds station just for the moment. Real quick, I take a look at our top three in the hypercar category. Momonica has pulled away from Forzarelli, and Forzarelli has pulled clear of Hershey as well. Valtria has stabilized in fourth, but they still have Nibbles Biscuit behind. They're going to try, I imagine, to make something happen draft-wise to try and close back in on the top two if they can help it. But Kimi in the Chevrolet is leading as they come through the Porsche curves. Scan code second, Cowlin third, pulls up fourth, White Wolf fifth, FFR Sweeting is sixth, dealing with hypercar traffic. Learart, who is involved in one of the lap one accidents, is trying to rush his way back up through the field. Right now he still has the entire lead pack of GTs to go through. He'll want to try and catch them as cleanly and effectively as he can, ideally in a straight line. He's not the only one. LMP Ragnar also still has to make his way through GT traffic as well. This team had a respectable second place showing in Stint 2, but now in Stint 3, it's all gone completely pear-shaped for them. I want to keep an eye on Learart as he starts to close in on the top 5 in GT. Will his presence end up shaking up how the GT leaders are looking? That is the question I have. You can see the top 5 all in just about nose-to-tail formation as they're coming out of the Dunlop corners. How well has Learart timed this? Is he going to catch him in a straight line? Because if he catches him in a straight line, it would be fantastic for him. It would also be fantastic for the GT drivers. And yes, Learart is going to catch the entire GT lead group in a straight line at least. White Wolf has gotten by Polza right now. It seems like Polza might actually be losing touch with White Wolf. Learart pulls to the inside of White Wolf, clears him with no issue. Pulls the inside of Cowlin, pulls to the inside of Scanco, no issue there. Kimi's just ahead, but he'll have to catch the braking zone before he catches and gets by Kimi. So that will break the field up just a bit in Kimi's favor. He'll go around the outside of Kimi, clears Kimi with no issue. So now Kimi has opened up a bit of a gap between himself and Scancode. Now, is that enough to break the draft? It's a little bit hard to tell, but I think it may have broken the draft. So Kimi may have broken the draft here, not even 15 minutes in. Scan code, White Wolf side by side between these teammates. They've got Cowlin right there as well. Side by side for second. And now they're spending time fighting for second. It's just going to let the new leader in GT, Kimi, just vanish off into the distance. But the MSRC teammates, although in different cars, having a bit of a run at it. A Mustang and a BMW with a Porsche hanging out in fourth just behind. Mustang to the inside. I said Mustang Porsche. I meant Mustang BMW. Mustang inside, BMW outside. Do either of them back out by the time they get to the braking zone? Coming into Indianapolis, here's your answer. Not really. They both still are side by side now. Scan code just barely holds it over White Wolf. White Wolf fakes a look to the inside, but isn't really willing to commit to it. And yes, Kimi is starting to scoot away a bit. Biscuit and Valtria having a bit of a fight here for fourth position still. Neck and neck as they are going down the first of the 4 consecutive straightaways. Someone has to back out here into the braking zone. Who's it going to be? Looks like it's Nibbles who backs out of it and gives the spot to Valtria for the moment. But now Nibbles will have the draft back on Valtria as they go down the second of the 4 straightaways. All right, of note, Ragnar, the last of the prototypes that was involved in those lap 1 accidents just about to finish clearing their way through GT traffic. Gets into it with scan code. Runs scan code off circuit. Runs himself off circuit as well. So Ragnar really kind of causing some chaos here in the GT category, it seems. Stuck behind scan code at the moment. Not a good time for the LMP drivers, it would appear. All right, but he will catch Kimi in a straight line, so for all intents and purposes, it's just more good news for Kimi. If all of these hypercars are catching him and passing him in a nice straight line, then Kimi doesn't really have to worry about losing ground whatsoever. So Kimi has further broken the gap in the draft between himself and Scancode. And Scancode has also broken the draft between himself and this group of White Wolf, Cowlin, and Polza. This is the trio now fighting for 3rd, 4th, and 5th in GT. For the moment, it looks like Cowlin has it in the Porsche. White Wolf in 2nd and Polza in 3rd. Back down into the 2nd chicane. Porsche to the inside. BMW to the outside. The BMW gets the position. A little bit of contact. The Porsche has a run. It looks like they'll be stuck just about side by side again. Polza watching these two up ahead like, come on, guys. Make up your mind. Figure out where you're going to be. Now they can see scan code farther up the road. If these drivers can resist the urge to fight and bleed each other dry on time, they're gonna be 3 wide as they come down into Mulsanne corner! Or they were nearly 3 wide. Boy, Polza really giving me a heart attack. He gave me a heart attack. How much of a heart attack was he giving these other two? But with these two fighting like this side by side through the corners, they're just gonna let Scancode and Kimi run off into the distance. And for Scancode, while he's not had a stint win yet, back to back to back podium results in the first 3 stints would be absolutely fantastic. Look at this group. They're nearly 3 wide on the run down to Indianapolis. Again, Polza backs out, says, hey, it's not worth it. He just wants these two to stop being side by side because he's confident that he's faster than them, but he wants to pass them in a way that's not going to risk wrecking all of them. Coming down through Arnage. And out of Arnage, there we go. And now it looks like White Wolf has stabilized in 3rd over Cowlin. And both of them have stabilized over Polza for the moment. So does White Wolf have anything for scan code or Kimi? Kimi in the Chevrolet leads in the GT category. Just about 20 minutes in, so I imagine we could start seeing the first round of pit stops this time by. Of course, obviously, Ragnar, Lear Art have already made their stops. It looks like Sneaky Potato is elected to make an early stop as well. Byron PRG also pitted early in the GT category. And it looks like White Wolf is saying, hey, I'm having enough of this. He wants to pit once every 20 minutes as well, or at least do that for the first run. Didn't have a lot of fuel anyway. So he'll be the first of our top 5 to go ahead and make a pit stop. FFR Sweesteen in 6 will also go ahead and pit in the GT category as well. So does Mackie, Magnus, Perez, Kochu. A lot of drivers in the GT category all electing to pit this time by. Hershey has completely lost touch with the top 2. Was a lot closer, but they've lost a lot of time, bled off a lot of ground. I wonder if they've had another spin that I've missed or something. But now it is Momonica leading and Forzarelli in 2nd. So we're going to go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break. We anticipate the rest of our prototype field, our hypercar field, will pit during this ad break. But when we come back, we'll keep an eye on the fight for the GT lead. We'll be back shortly here at Le Mans. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Le Mans. I'm your host for today's broadcast in St. Lear 13. We're in the middle of the first round of pit stops. Again, everyone required to make 4 pit stops over the course of this 100-minute run. Excuse me, sorry about that. Right now, everyone in prototypes has made at least 1 stop except for Miss Valtria, who is going 1 lap farther, trying to make an alternate strategy work. Stinky Potato is already made their 2nd stop. I think they've had just kind of bad luck on top of a miscue after their first pit stop to repair damage. So Stinky Potato has already completed 2 stops, so is now well behind everyone else, basically. But yeah, these first 25 minutes have been chaotic. Of the 8 drivers in the hypercar category, 6 of them were involved in some sort of accident or spin. It's really only Momonica and Forzarelli who have been able to get away, and even then, Forzarelli was the one who got into it with Valtria and turned Valtria in the field here. And it looks like Scancode is going to pit out of 2nd position in the GTs, and he'll be joined by the Porsche of Crazy Callan and the BMW of AFZ Polza. So Apex Gimme is going to go ahead and take the lead, and by a massive margin now. So Kimmy's had back-to-back top 5 results right now. So yeah, the entirety of the GT field now has made a stop except for Kimmy. In the same way, the entirety of the hypercar field except for Miss Valtria has also made a stop. And Valtria right now is also in the frustrating position that they have to rush their way around traffic, and they get into it with one of the Chevys there. Well, that was suboptimal. That was, I believe that looks like Callan is having a little bit of trouble there. Just got passed by White Wolf, and it looks like our leader, Valtria, is just making their stop now. What happened to Callan? They suddenly lost a huge chunk of time. It was just, losing time coming out of pit lane. That explains it. Stewsby making their stop. Boiled Birds made their stop as well. So yeah, it's only Kimmy who has yet to make their first stop of the day. Valtria is making their stop now. So now it will be Momonica who goes to the top spot. Apex Kimmy still running in the 9th position right now, overall leading in GT. He is in completely clean air right now, trying to stay ahead of the group of Scancode, White Wolf, Callan, and Polza. That is in 2 pairs of 2 by the looks of it. Callan and Polza relatively close to each other, and then Scancode and White Wolf pretty much on top of each other as well. Kimmy reigning clean air at the moment, hoping to run these laps in clean air to pull away from his rivals on track. And to be fair, Scancode and White Wolf keep fighting like it seems like they have been. Kimmy should be in a position to be able to just walk off with this victory here. Already about a quarter of the way through Stint 3. Here comes the move. BMW goes deep, and the Mustang really backs out. Doesn't really want to force the issue until they come out of the corner. And now they'll be side by side. And they're going to be stuck side by side, I imagine, on the run down. No, it does not look like it. It looks like it is going to be Scanco who backs out, but gives White Wolf the top spot. He'll let the draft pull him back up alongside. So White Wolf and Scanco side by side. BMW is going to go to the outside, Mustang to the inside. Who backs out first? It looks like it's going to be the Mustang. So White Wolf in the BMW goes up to 2nd. Scancode holds on in 3rd in the Mustang, but it is the Chevy of Apex Kimmy 7 who is leading by a significant margin, but we know he's going to pit likely at the end of this lap. How much of his lead is he going to lose upon making his stop? Now he has entered pit road. Valtteri and Hursley have found each other again. Both these drivers involved in incidents. They were the ones who started first and second at the head of the field. Now they're going to have to figure out who's going to be where between each other before they make a run on Monica and Forzarelli. Looks like Hursley backs out of it going into Indianapolis. Lets Valtteri have it and is going to try and cross them over maybe on the exit of Arnage. Yeah, but Valtteri backed up too much and killed any kind of run that Valtteri was hoping to exit the corner with. All right, is White Wolf going to be able to close by a significant amount on Kimi? Kimi still in pit lane, but they're coming out now. And look at this. Kimi is going to maintain most of their advantage on the rest of the GT field. White Wolf will still only be in second. They can now see Kimi, but Kimi is now going to have a significant tire advantage going forward. So I'll be a monkey's uncle. Kimi might be able to walk off now that it is nighttime. Kimi, a man of the midnight, is really coming and taking this race away. Real quick, a look at the fight for third in Hypercar. It's not really much of a fight. Valtteri is already skewed away from Hursley right now. But traffic management is the big thing to keep an eye on right now. As Valtteri are wrapping their way around. Did someone hit the wall? Oh my goodness, someone did just hit the wall there. Was that Stuzaby? That may have been Stuzaby who hit the wall. Oh, that is a lot. I mean, the engine is still functioning at least, but that is a lot of aerodynamic and braking damage there. And Stuzaby, this was the car that started on pole in this stint, started right up at the head of the field after winning this Team 1 Stint 1, had a mediocre to vanishingly poor Stint 2, and now an accident in Stint 3. And Stuzaby is going to have to pit shortly, and Ragnar is in pit road as well. Has he had an accident as well? Nope, this is just their strategy, I guess, that they've jumped onto after being involved in that lap 1 accident. But Stuzaby involved in an incident. This is Palooza. Nope, Palooza's still fine. Okay. So another instant, though. So the PTG started with an amazing first stint, and I'm sure that they would love to pull everybody's internet and make it to where the only stint that counts ends up being Stint 1 with how awful it has been for them in Stints 2 and 3 thus far. Right now, with the exception of Ragnar, all of our drivers are basically on the same half or so of the circuit right now. And our leaders, Monica and Forzarelli, trying to cut their way through Oh my goodness, is that Kochu who's had an accident? Is that another car that's had an accident there? Limping around. That is the HYZ car that has been involved in so many incidents over the entirety of the event. Stints 1, Stint 2, and now Stint 3. So many accidents for this car. And HYZ Kochu with massive front end damage is just limping around right now. It keeps going from worse to even worse for HYZ Kochu. I know there are some teams out there who feel like they're having a bad time, but there is no team having a worse run of it today than HYZ Kochu. Granted, we're not even done with our third stint yet, but this team honestly might get the award from me of worst stint ever that I've seen in about 4 or 5 years of broadcasting for TORA. I've been doing this for a while. So Kochu already going a lap down, not even 40 full minutes into this run, and limping with a heavily damaged car. So Momonica has now broken out of all the GT category after having passed Kimi. Forzarelli about to follow suit, but then it's a big jump back until you get to third place, who is Valtteri. Nibbles Biscuit has actually made their way by Hershey at this point, as Hershey seems to just struggle a little bit, trying to navigate traffic. Stewsby pits, Magnus pits, Kochu pits. Closing in with about 6.5 minutes, well, about 6 minutes until we hit the 40-minute mark in this run. And for the drivers who are pitting once every 20 minutes, that is about the time I imagine we'll see the next round of pit stops. Lear in the hypercar category is already making his second stop right now. But the hypercar field very spread out early on here, as just 6 of the 8 drivers involved in accidents in the first 20 minutes, and of those 6, 5 of them were involved in the first 10 minutes, the first 2 laps, honestly. Just chaotic early for the hypercars, and now they're so spread out, I don't really think there's much more chaos you can play on them. Now the focus is on the GT drivers. We know Kimi has a significant gap over White Wolf at least, although White Wolf and Scancode are trying to make some drafting shenanigans happen to try and close in on Kimi as this is going on. If they can time this really well, this MSRC duo might still have something for Kimi. I said this before, I said it again, we currently have 4 different manufacturers running in the top 4 right now. Cowlin in 4th position is a Porsche. Scancode is in 3rd in the Mustang. White Wolf is 2nd in a BMW, and Kimi is leading in the Chevrolet. So 2 of the MSRC trio of cars seem to be performing a little bit right now. I just realized that the paint scheme that Kimi has, it's not actually glow in the dark, but the way that the lighting works in the game, in certain angles, it actually looks like the green on it is glow in the dark. That's pretty cool. Whoever designed that paint scheme was really thinking with colors and light theory there. All right, White Wolf is going to have to deal with the fact that he's going to have a pair of hypercars coming up on him. And that's Scancode who got hit from behind. Scancode gets hit by one of the hypercars and goes way off into the dirt. And Scancode, the car that probably had more distance than any other car thus far, at the first 2 sets, and he gets into it with the Porsche and gets right to the track right from Callan. Is there damage? Yes, Callan's destroyed! Oh my goodness, Callan's been destroyed! A hypercar gets into it with our top Mustang, the top GT3 car! Sends the GT3 car off track, and because of how narrow that part of the circuit was, when that Mustang came back onto the circuit, they caught the Porsche as well! This Porsche just cannot seem to put together a good run, it seems. Every time the Porsche starts to have a good run, something goes bad and derails it for them. And Cowlin and Scancode, drivers who are ranked 3rd and 4th, get wrecked due to an accident by a hypercar, and that might have been Valtteri who may have hit them. Yes, it was! It was Valtteri! Valtteri was the one who hit Scancode, knocked Scancode off track, and then when Scancode crept the car back onto the circuit at the narrowest point when there was nowhere else to go, Cowlin ran to the back of Scancode! So the hypercars continue to be the category of chaos! And the big thing I would argue more than anything else is that for Apex Kitty, this is fantastic. Because now we'll only have to deal with one car in the form of White Wolf behind him. What did they put in the hypercar category today? They must have laced those drivers' drink with tetrahydroxine or something. What in the devil is going on? Well, now only the top 4 in hypercar have yet to make their second stop, but that has less to do with strategy and more to do with the fact that The hypercars do not seem to be able to avoid instants. Okay, well, there is still one MSRC GT car having a decent run. That is White Wolf in the BMW, the top driver in the BMW Mafia, who now is making a move on Kimi, the man of the midnight. It's Apex versus HSRC as they go down the second of 4 consecutive straightaways. And it looks like the BMW has the spot almost completely done, but Kimi is still alongside. He can go nice and deep into the braking zone. He will! Kimi goes plenty deep into the braking zone, runs over the curbs, but does not slide out too wide. Will hold station, although look at this. White Wolf had a great run out and pulls right back alongside Kimi again. Side by side for a lead in the GT category. And now they begin creeping uphill, highest point on the circuit, and then once they get off the hill, it's a fire off down into Mulsanne Corner, the heaviest braking zone on the circuit. Who brakes earlier? It looks like they both broke around the same time. BMW wraps around the outside, makes it stick. Kimi is still there as well, though. They're still just about side by side. They're going to be side by side for almost an entire third of a lap. It's honestly kind of incredible. But one of them has to back out of it as they come into Indianapolis this time by. Who backs out coming into Indianapolis? Heavy under braking. It looks like White Wolf actually ends up going a little bit deeper in. They're still side by side, and finally they stop being side by side. White Wolf clears Kimi, but Kimi has the run on the outside. Is he going to try something going into Renage on the outside? Well, he sure thought of it, but is not willing to commit to it. For the moment, it is the BMW who leads, but Kimi in second. The Chevy has good straight line speed, has the draft. Is he going to try and pull back alongside as they come up into the Porsche curbs? There's no prototypes behind to cause some issue. It could be mano y mano, side by side in the braking zone. Who goes deeper this time? Oh, door-to-door contact under the braking. A big slide by the BMW on the outside. They're still in a dead heat as they come into the Porsche curves. Side by side still. The Chevy is squeezed. Nearly hits the outside wall. Comes down. There's contact. Kimi's wide. Kimi's into the dirt. Kimi slides. White Wolf forces their way by Kimi there, pushes Kimi into the dirt, and then pits right afterwards. And that was so shocking, my controller apparently disconnected. Alright, cool. But Kimi will go back into the lead by virtue of having not yet made his stop yet. White Wolf will go ahead and stop. AFC Polza, who is running third, is also going to go ahead and stop. FFR Sweesing, who has now worked their way up into fourth spot. Are they going to pit? Yes, they are. What of our top four? Well, we'll find out in a bit here. We're going to go ahead and take a Twitch mandated ad break. We'll be back momentarily here at Le Mans. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Le Mans. Forza Rally has been slowly closing on Monica, and the top two in hypercars now going ahead and jumping into pit lane. Nibbles Biscuit, who is going to be third. Is he going to pit this time as well or not? Yes, he will. He will jump into the pits. What about Hershey? He started up front, but has been involved in incidents already. Do they pit or do they stay out? They're going to pit as well. So right now, Apex Kimi is now the only driver on track who has not yet made their second stop of the day. But the big drama thus far has been what happened to Scan Code. They got ran over just entering the Porsche curb. They got ran over by Miss Valtria. They went wide. They had heavy damage. They had to limp it back onto the circuit at the narrowest part of the circuit in the Porsche curbs. And in the process, they ended up right ahead of Crazy Cowlin. There was absolutely nowhere for Cowlin to go. Cowlin then hit Scan Code from behind and damaged his own car as well. So all three drivers, Valtria, Scan Code, and Cowlin, with heavy damage. And for Scan Code, that was humongous because that was the Mustang that had more distance than any other GT3 car in the C lobby thus far in the event. So after pit stops are done, there have been no changes in the top four for the hypercars. Kimi is making his pit stop now. The question is going to be, where is he going to be in relation to White Wolf? White Wolf had been a little bit argy-bargy, but White Wolf and Kimi made contact at this part of the circuit, and Kimi went off right before White Wolf made his stop. But Kimi has now had an entire extra lap out there. White Wolf has already got the car nice and warmed up. Is White Wolf going to be able to get back by Kimi after Kimi completes this stop this time by? Through the Ford chicanes comes White Wolf, the top driver in the BMW Mafia. The BMW Mafia has really not had the great time. White Wolf and Polza's cars have been the only one really showing any potential, but White Wolf is really making something out of it. And there's Kimi coming out of the pits right now, but White Wolf will clear him. White Wolf will be clear of Kimi. So White Wolf is going to retake the lead over Apex Kimi now. After 45 minutes of running here in Stint 3. A bit wide in the corner there by White Wolf, but still, all right, so it looks like that's calmed down a bit. Third and fourth place is Scan Code, followed by Crazy Cowlin. Cowlin, despite being involved in an accident, is actually still maintaining a fourth place positioning right now. Same with Scan Code, despite being involved in an accident, still ranking top 3, which is really bloody impressive, all things considered. Masik Extra, not really talked about them today, but in this Mercedes, they have worked their way up into 6th overall right now. 7th is Byron PRG, who was involved in an accident very early in the event. Then behind them is FFR Sweesting. They had been as high as 5th, but have since been slowly tumbling down the order, it seems. Then you have Leo Perez a little bit farther back, just now coming under the Dunlop Bridge. Behind them, a lot farther behind, is Boiled Bird 88, just barely ahead of Eris Magnus, the second of the two Chevys in the event. Then it will be VRT Palooza. After that is PTG Stewsby. Stewsby was actually having a good run to start this, but had an accident just before they got into the Mulsanne corners. While the engine was still firing, the aerodynamics were so heavily damaged they had to limp around and pit. Then you have Duque Fly, who is second to last right now, just not really having a very fast run of it. And HYZ Koshu, who has already gone a lap down, has already had at least one large catastrophic accident that destroyed every piece of that car. It's just been one of those days for that team. Monica has started pulling back away from Forza Rally. Nibbles Biscuit kind of all on his own. So is Hershey and Valtria and Stinky Potato and Ragnar and Lyra. In some cases, Valtria and Stinky Potato can kind of see each other. Ragnar and Lyra can kind of see each other, but not really close enough to really fight with each other. And right now, it is one of the MSRC entries, the BMW one, driven by White Wolf 28, that is leading right now after about 47.5 minutes here in Stint 3. Kimi led the big chunk of the early stage of this race, but a little bit of contact between him and White Wolf sent him off circuit. Kimi is running second on a slightly alternate strategy, but he needs to find some pace to run back down White Wolf. And Scancode 07 has, we believe, overall the best distance out of the entirety of the top 3 right now. And we believe still has the best distance overall. Scancode just trying to salvage after being involved in an accident with not just a prototype, but with one of the GT drivers as well. This has been one of those weird, wacky, and wild days today in TORA's 24 Hours of Le Mans. Stint 2 was relatively calm, didn't have a lot going on. Stint 3 has been an absolute chaotic mess all throughout. Real quick, just to look at the changes throughout the day. Momonica technically up 7 spots from where they started. So basically last to first run for Momonica, absolutely incredible. Forzarelli up 4 spots from where they started. In GT, White Wolf up 6 spots from where they started. Callan also up 6 spots. Mackie Extra up 7 spots. The biggest losers thus far in Hypercar, it's obviously a tie between Hurski and Valtteri, both down 3 spots. In GT, it's easily Stewsby down 12 spots, started first, fell down the order a little bit, but not as bad as he had in Stint 2, but then had an accident, Stint's fallen back to 21st. It's not been a good run for the PTG team here in Stint 3 whatsoever. Okay, so we've just about completed half of Stint 3 now. As Momonica closing in on, is that Kochu? No, that is Dukefly. They're about to close in on. Now, once they clear Dokefly, it's still going to be probably another lap before these Hypercar leaders have to deal with any more traffic. But when you get Stewsby, you got Stewsby, Perluza, Boiled Bird, Eris Magnus, all pretty close to being on top of each other here. And now I believe Kochu is still in the back of that group as well. So it will be a little while, but when Momonica catches traffic next, it's going to be a bunch of traffic they're going to hit all at the same time. Now, Wet Eris Magnus is making a stop now. He'll be the first driver to make a 3rd stop. Is there damage warranting this? No, this is just when I guess they're choosing to make their stop. Interesting choice. But everything seems to have calmed down a little bit. So your leader in GT right here is White Wolf. And where in the devil is Kimi? He has massively opened the gap on Kimi. Kimi has just completely fallen off a cliff in pace. No signs of damage or anything. Kimi's just nowhere near White Wolf. White Wolf is legitimately scooting away from Kimi right now. Oh, Momonica has just crossed the start-finish line that time by. They are maintaining a respectable gap over Forzarelli. A lot of fast drivers in Hypercar involved in instance. It's really just kind of upended how the Hypercar field is really playing out here in Stint 3. The GT field has now gotten relatively spread out as well. We do have this little fight going on here, by the looks of it, between Suisine and Perez. No, it's Suisine and Byron. I'm sorry, between Suisine and Byron is another Mustang BMW fight. Considering that BMW is the most popular GT car, Mustang is the second most popular GT car, I can't say I'm surprised to see this duo fighting at it once again. Still side by side between these two. Someone has to back out. before they get into Indianapolis. Who's it going to be? Looks like it's the no one. They both go full bore into here. And the BMW tries to slide. There's a little bit of contact. And the BMW barely nips the position there. Well, while we are in a little bit of a calmer moment, we're going to go ahead and spend a full lap on board with White Wolf, giving you an idea what a flying lap looks like on board with our current leader in the GTs at Le Mans at night. We'll be back shortly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a full lap on board with White Wolf here around Le Mans. While we are in the nighttime, I want to also go ahead, if it doesn't have to be this stint, but I do want to try and spend a full lap on board with one of our hypercars a little bit later as well, give you an idea what the difference is between running the daytime, where I spent a full lap on board with a hypercar at GT in Stint 1, and nighttime, where I've now spent a full lap on board with White Wolf, and hopefully I'll get to do it with one of the hypercars in one of the following stints out here. What the heck? ladies and gentlemen, I have bad news. My controller is starting to fail on me. It is completely failing on me right now. The good news is I do have 2 spare controllers I might be able to switch to going into the rest of the broadcasting tonight, but my controller is currently starting to fail on me and is not working nearly as effectively as it had been before. So if we continue to have disconnects, this is the second one already this stint. If we have a third one, I will definitely have to swap controllers altogether here. I am sorry that that is the case, but I may not have another choice here. Not really anything to talk about, though. At this stage of the event, White Wolf has opened up a respectable gap on Kimmy, and Scancode, despite being involved in an accident earlier, is gradually closing the gap down between themselves and Kimmy right now. I don't think Scancode is going to be able to catch White Wolf by the end of this run. I do think Scancode is going to be able to make it 3 straight podiums despite being involved in an accident. So that would be absolutely incredible if they can pull it off. One bad news for Cal. Now, granted, they have already made their 3rd stop. I'm not sure if they were involved in an accident and I missed it, or if this is just an alternate strategy they're on. But Callan was running in 4th. They have now slipped well away from the top 5 now in that lone Porsche, which seems to be the struggle bus that the Porsche has been on basically all day long today. LMP Ragnar pitting out of 7th position right now in Hypercar. Still far enough ahead of Learart that I don't think Learart's going to be able to nip them. But Ragnar and Learart were probably the 2 drivers most significantly damaged and compromised by the lap 1 accidents. And they basically need all sorts of chaos to happen to the leaders in Hypercar to really try and do anything. Credit to where credit is due, though. Nibbles Biscuit, despite being involved in some of that early chaos, has been closing down slowly on Momonica and Forzarelli. It does seem like the drivers out in front are slightly slower than the drivers farther back in the Hypercar class. So for Nibbles Biscuit, he may still have a chance of catching Momonica and Forzarelli before this is over. I would have said the same for Hursky, but Hursky has since been involved in other incidents and has just kind of lost time. Same with Valtteri. I think Valtteri honestly has some of the best pace out here, but Valtteri was the one that caused that accident between Scancode and Cowlin. That has derailed their run. Okay, White Wolf paying out the lead this time by. So this will likely give Kimmy the lead back, but it does seem like in terms of sheer pace, White Wolf is by far Kimmy's better. Scancode is also going to go ahead and pit this time by as well. So with that in mind, we are now going to see, I mean, granted, we have seen some drivers near the back of the GT drivers make their 3rd stops, but we are now absolutely in the period of the GT drivers making their 3rd round of stops. I imagine we'll see a big chunk of the Hypercar field start making their 3rd stops this time by as well. Only downside is for Monica, Forzarelli, and Nibbles Biscuit when they make their... Oh, well, Nibbles is making a stop now, but Momonica and Forzarelli want to stay out a little longer. My guess is that they want to try and clear more of the GT traffic, so when they do finally make their stop, they don't have to pass as many GT cars right away afterwards. They want to just try to pass them now and maybe not do it again, instead of pit and then immediately not only have to pass the ones they've already beaten, but pass a bunch of them that they have yet to overtake. You don't want to spend too much time offline if you can help it. Valtteri has also jumped into the pit lane along with Nibbles this time by. Field very, very spread out at this stage of the event in both categories. Although there are some GT drivers like Byron PRG and Suicine who have been relatively close to each other. Right now, at the top of the field, it is Apex Kimmy in GT and Momonica in Hypercar. But Kimmy and 2nd place Polza both have yet to make their 3rd stop. We also have Mackie Extra, who is currently up in 4th position, but they also, in this Mercedes, have yet to make their 3rd stop of the event, and they've got Scancode just behind. And I can't say this enough, Scancode, despite being involved in an accident earlier, is on an absolute amazing run and is likely on track to another podium result despite having an accident. I This car could be the one. Yes, it may be White Wolf that is leading this stint right now, but Scan Code's team is likely going to be in the overall lead amongst all of the C Lobby GT3 cars as this continues here. Scan Code has now caught Macy Extra in the straight line using the draft. How aggressive is he going to go against Macy? Real quickly, I want to look at Macy in this Mercedes, get an idea how much longer can they stay out. Well, they don't have a lot of fuel left. Their tires are fine, but they don't have a lot of fuel left. I imagine just because of fuel concerns, they'll be wanting to pit at the end of this lap. Top 3 in Hypercar all still have yet to make their stops. As we watch Scan Code close in on Messiah Extra. As the hypercar of Hershey just behind them, the last of the 3 hypercars that have yet to make their 3rd stop. And here we go. We saw Scan Code beat Messiah in the braking zone, but now Messiah is going to use the draft to get back alongside. Hypercar has to whip it around the outside, and the track is wide enough here. You can go 3 wide without too much issue. So Hershey not really compromised by the presence of the GT cars. Okay, Mercedes. Does he back out? Yes, it does look like Messiah Extra will be the one to back out. So Scan Code goes back to 4th on track. Once our top 2 in GT make their stops, it will likely put them up to 3rd, if not 2nd. There's Kimi pitting. And Momonica is pitting as well, as is Forzarelli. Does Polza pit this time by? No, it looks like Polza wants to stay out for a little bit longer, so this will now transfer the lead over to AFZ Polza here. So where's Kimi going to be in relation to White Wolf? White Wolf arguably been the fastest driver all day today. But White Wolf clears Kimi with no issue whatsoever there. Kimi's not even close. Hersky's going to stay out another lap, but Momonica and Forzarelli both pitted that last time by. Momonica out of the pits now. Forzarelli out of the pits now. So Hersky now takes command of the lead of this race. A bit of a slide right in front of White Wolf there. But now that they've cleared White Wolf, they're only really going to have one more piece of GT traffic. That will be Polza farther up the road. Messiah Extra now making their 3rd stop of the night. And VRT Palooza making their 3rd stop now as well. Sweet and Byron still running right on top of each other. These two just keep going back and forth for these positions. Can't really figure out who's going to be where. Bit of a wide slide there by that Mustang. BMW closing back in here. Byron right behind Sweetstein. Sweetstein's a little wide. Big sideways drift over the curbs on the outside there. Kills his momentum coming onto the straight. Here comes Byron. Pulls back up alongside. Might be able to complete the overtake by the time they get to the braking zone even. Maybe not. I think the side draft is going to salvage Sweetstein just a bit. So now this duo is locked in a dead heat as they go down the first of 4 consecutive straightaways here. Who backs out of it coming into the next corner? They both jump on the brake at about the same time. They're both still side by side, but the BMW gets in front and then drifts wide. Sliding, bleeds off a huge chunk of time in the process, and the Mustang immediately comes right back at him. side by side again between the duo as they fly down the next straightaway. A little bit of contact between the two. Nothing too catastrophic, though. And Byron's now clipped Sweesing for the position. That's one of the hypercars slipping by. Not really going to have an impact on this. Yeah, Hirsachi now pits out of the lead in the hypercar category with 31.5 minutes left in this stint. And AFZ Polza is also going to go ahead and make their stop as well now. So all drivers have now completed at least... No, all drivers have completed exactly 3 pit stops right now. Sweesing and Byron now side by side as they go into Indianapolis. They're still side by side. Finally, the Mustang gets trapped on the outside line. Can't really do anything. The BMW gets the position. And now Sweesing immediately goes for a big dive into Arnage. And the BMW let him have it. Sweesing back ahead now of Byron. Up into the Porsche curbs again. Bit of a slide by the Mustang right in front of that BMW. Looks to me like for the moment, Sweesing has the position over Byron. As long as he didn't have a self-inflicted mistake, he'll be able to hold on to it for a bit. And Byron went ghost mode there for a moment. What's going on with Byron? He's off! He's into the wall! Byron into the wall! And the car is totaled, and that was right after... Oh no, for Byron! This is horrible! The engine is destroyed, the clutch is destroyed, steering, transmission, the aerodynamics are destroyed, everything is ruined, and it was right past pit in! And that's another one of the MSRC cars that have had a catastrophic incident. But this one is far, far worse than anything that happened to Scan Code. Byron will have to limp around the entire distance of the entire circuit to get the car repaired. And this will likely put Byron in last position, if not second to last. Kind of depends on how far back Coach New is. But Byron has to limp around 8.5 miles with an absolutely totaled BMW. Well, we actually had something that wasn't caused by a hypercar, at least. I guess that's something worth mentioning. Well, with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break with about 28 minutes left in the event. We'll be back shortly here at Le Mans. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, welcome you back here to Le Mans. Apologize for that prolonged break. About 25 and a half minutes left. White Wolf is your leader in GT, has just been gradually pulling away bit by bit on Apex Kimi 7. And Kimi was being caught by Scancode earlier, but it seems like either Scancode lost a little bit of pace or Kimi has picked up the pace a bit. But Scancode doesn't really look like he has a chance at running Kimi down at all. Cowlin in the Porsche, despite being involved in an accident earlier, is still fighting for a 4th place result just ahead of AFZ Polza here in that BMW. Then you have Masiix Extra in 6th in the GT category, followed by FFR Sweesing, who is currently 7th after a prolonged fight with Byron. Then after that is Leo Perez right now, who has moved up into 8th in category. 9th right now is Boiled Bird. 10th is VRT Palooza. And then you have the pitting drivers of Arius Magnus and PTG Stewsby making what we believe will be their last stops. After that will be Dukefly, followed by Byron PRG, who is still limping around the track after an accident just past the pit lane entry. They're only about halfway around the circuit right now, hoping to just barely stay ahead of at least HYZ Kochu, who is currently last unfield in the GT category right now. In the hypercar category, Nibbles Biscuit has just gotten by Momonica. Way by Momonica. So not only has Forza Rally gotten ahead of Momonica, Momonica has slipped to 3rd. So as Momonica had a self-inflicted spin that we've missed. Because Forza Rally now leads in hypercars. And Nibbles Biscuit is not too far behind. We could still have a fight at the end here for the top spot in hypercar, potentially. 4th is Hershey. 5th is Stinky Potato. 6th is Valtria, who had pitted while we are under the pit break. LMP Ragnar is 7th, and Learart is running 8th and last right now. Again, Ragnar and Learart involved in a lap 1 accident. There were 5 different hypercars involved in lap 1 instance, but Ragnar and Learart probably the worst off of all of them. Have just barely been staying about 2/3 of a lap down to the leaders most of the rest of the run since then. But right now, we are in the part of the race where we anticipate everyone will be making their final stops momentarily here. Quickly looking at the fuel and tires. Plenty of fuel left. Tires still have quite a bit of life. Honestly, I can see Forza Rally wait until maybe some of the last possible moments to make their final stop. They can go for us for a while. Nibbles Biscuit reigning in 2nd position. Has less fuel, a little bit more worn tires, but less fuel. Should be able to put down some respectable laps right now. And then Momonica, who has led the largest chunk of this race, but I'm guessing they had a self-inflicted spin coming out of the Porsche curbs that I've missed. They'll also have one more stop to make. Valtria making another stop already. Oh, and this is damage. Valtria has been involved in another accident. And despite starting up near the front in the hypercar category, this might put Valtria permanently in last place out of the hypercars. It just seems to have gone from bad to worse for Valtria here. What in the devil? That was actually really badass sounding. This is White Wolf. Still leads in GT by a significant margin over Kimi. Kimi just needs to not make any big mistakes, not bleed off any major time. He can still come home with a 2nd. Scancode trying to come home 3rd. And I think he'll still maintain overall lead in the GT category amongst the 3rd lobby drivers. Kochu making their 3rd stop right now. They have gotten by Byron, unsurprisingly, because Byron still, with that incredibly heavily damaged car, just trying to limp around the circuit. Really, at this point, he's just trying to cut whatever corner he can just so he's not bleeding off so much time. And he's carrying one of those Goodyear billboard signs on the hood right now. I'll be 100% honest. I'm really surprised that Byron here has elected to stay on circuit. Lesser drivers or better drivers, I've seen A-Lobby drivers get involved in accidents before, and they just immediately rage quit out and don't bother. Byron had an accident at statistically the absolute worst part of the circuit, and he is willing to stay on circuit and keep going. Mad respect for him being willing to do that. Most drivers would normally just back out. This, while it is rough and it is dangerous, this is pretty solid sportsmanship and commitment to the team and what it can do. But I would be very, very concerned if I was one of the hypercars coming up, though, because this is Stinky Potato coming up on speed on Byron as they're coming up to the Porsche curbs. All right, he'll get by Byron without too much issue, so I guess it's less of an issue than I thought. Sorry, did Stinky Potato just kill himself on the wall? Nope, he's still good. But as I was saying for Byron, this is going to be the most difficult part of the circuit right here because it's just so incredibly narrow. But it looks like he's through without being involved in any more incidents here. White Wolf pitting out of the lead now with 19 minutes left. Kimi is going to pit out of second place as well. So we're not really going to see a change at the head of the GT field. Scan code, do they elect to pit or are they going to try and stay out? They're going to stay out. So scan code ever so briefly is going to go back into the lead here. Now they're still going to have to pit in a little bit, but scan code will take the lead. And yes, Valtteri officially is now fallen to last place. Although after Lear and Ragnar make their final stops, Valtteri might still be able to clip one, if not both of them, to the end. Forza Rally ran in second for a big chunk of the event, but we believe Momonica had a self-inflicted spin, no damage. They've been able to continue, but Forza Rally has now inherited the lead, but just barely over Nibbles Biscuit. And Biscuit has shown a little bit more potential speed than Forza Rally. There is still a chance that Biscuit might be able to catch Forza Rally before this is over. Byron PRG has finally made it to pit lane. It has taken what feels like 16 minutes, but Byron PRG has finally limped his heavily damaged car into pit lane. The only downside is he is so far off pace, I don't know if he can catch anyone except Kochu now. I say Kochu because Kochu has had accidents before, might have accidents again here. Mackie Extra and FFR Sweesing both making their fourth and final stops. Perez making their final stop as well. I imagine Palooza will likely pit at the end of this lap as well. That was Palooza right there, who just went by the camera. When do our leaders in Hypercar decide to pit? 17.5 minutes to go. And here's the word, Forza Rally pitting this time by. What of Biscuit? He's going to join them. What of Momonica? They are also going to pit. Here's C. Way back here and forth. Been involved in quite a few incidents themselves. Has had good speed, but being involved in incidents in such a spread out field has really not helped them whatsoever. I imagine they'll have to pit this time by. Palooza is actually elected to stay out another lap, interestingly enough. So scan code, Palooza, and Cowlin all elected to stay out for another lap. Palooza and DQ Fly also all elected to stay out another lap. Hursty is actually going to stay out another lap as well. So we might see Hursty briefly retake the lead here at Le Mans for the hypercar category. As Forza Rally bringing the car slowly out of pit lane and now begins to accelerate out. You can see Biscuit just briefly behind. Now this group's going to have to deal with more GT traffic. About 16 minutes and 10 seconds left. Stinky Potato making a stop right now. We're looking at Forzarelli as they're closing in on some traffic here as they're coming up to one of the chicanes, the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. Big slide, a little bit of contact between them and that Mustang. I don't think it compromised him too much, and Biscuit's not really close enough in a position where a small hiccup immediately closes them in, but if Forzarelli keeps hitting traffic like that, Biscuit will be right on top. Monica's not too far back either. Lear Arts now making their stop, so this might put them back behind Valtria here. Scan Code, Polza, and Cowlin all are making their stops, so now we look at the driver we think will retake the lead in GT. That would be White Wolf as he fires off into the Ford chicanes. He's already cleared Cowlin, already cleared Palooza, and now he clears Scan Code. So yes, White Wolf officially retakes the lead here. Kimi, we think, is going to be able to retake second in the Chevrolet. Led a big chunk of the race early, but when it came down to it, White Wolf has just been his better. Now, there was a little bit of physical aggression. White Wolf did push Kimi off circuit, but it's not like White Wolf needed to do that to dispose of Kimi. White Wolf has legitimately just been opening the gap on Kimi nice and consistently throughout the rest of this run today. And then it looks like Scan Code's still going to be able to come home third after being involved in being the epicenter of a multi-car accident at that. Polza somehow just still ahead of Cowlin. But, you know, after being involved in an accident, again, this Porsche keeps getting involved in accidents, but Cowlin coming home fifth. I think he'll take that. If he can keep it together and bring that Porsche home fifth, it would be finally a reasonable finish for the Porsche. They've not been able to crack top 5 before now. It looks like they might finally be able to do it. Ragnar briefly is back up in the 5th, but only off the back of having not yet made their final stop. And here's Hirschi pitting this time. So Hirschi is now pitting, and that will give the lead officially back to Forzarelli. But look at that. Biscuit is closing with speed on Forzarelli. We are likely going to have a legitimate fight for the prototype win here, coming down to the finish. It's a bit less than 13 minutes left. Monica will also go back into third position. Hirschi looks like they'll be able to stabilize in fourth because they are way ahead of Stinky Potato, and we know Ragnar has another stop to make anyway. Oh, Forzarelli compromised there by Palooza. Biscuit not nearly as badly compromised. They have caught each other. We are going to have a fight for the win in hypercars. So in Stint 2, we had a prolonged fight for the top spot until about the last 10-15 minutes, and now in Stint 3, it's the opposite. There's not really been any fight until the last 10 to 15 minutes. These drivers both pitted at the same time, so their fuel and tire wear should be at about the same mark right now. As they fire down to the first of the Mulsanne chicanes again, there's a little bit of traffic ahead, just a single GT car, but they still have to navigate him. And it's Biscuit who's held up this time. So Biscuit significantly held up by Sweecine, and that opens the gap back in Forzarelli's favor. Well, it's not like there's no traffic. It's just going to be a while until they catch more traffic, but there is some more traffic ahead. That would be Mackie Extra a little bit farther up the grid, and where they catch them might have a big impact. Ragnar is making another pit stop. Why is No, is this Ragnar's pit? No, this is Ragnar's first pit stop, isn't it? Normal fourth pit stop. Yeah, this is Ragnar's normal fourth pit stop. Never mind. False alarm. So meanwhile, we look back at the head of the hypercar field. Biscuit and Forzarelli. Biscuit involved in some of the incidents early. Biscuit might be on an interesting comeback drive, an interesting recovery drive. Still clear track ahead for this duo right now. Next car they would catch would be it would be Mackie Extra, and that would still be quite a bit of time before they catch them. Might not even be until they get to the Ford chicanes, honestly. Just a tick over 10 minutes left right now. Through the Porsche curves. Ooh, the leading driver just lightly licks the outside wall. The pressure might be getting to Forzarelli. Runs wide. Both of them run a little bit wide over those outside curves. That's nothing too concerning for them. But Biscuit is back within drafting range into the Ford chicanes once again. There is GT traffic just ahead, but they won't catch them until they're on the straightaway, so he's not going to compromise them too much. Gonna be a nice little run until they catch more traffic. The next car they would catch would be Byron PRG. BRT Palooza. Oh no, Palooza's only now made their final stop, and we have less than 10 minutes left in this run, so Palooza's likely gonna get a post-stint penalty for making their final stop too late. Horrible time for Palooza. Horrible strategy calling by that team. Meanwhile, we look back at the stalking battle at the head of the hypercar field. As this duo is running down on Byron PRG, who will be the next bit of lap traffic they catch. But after they catch Byron PRG and dispose of him, it's going to be probably an entire lap before they catch the next bit of GT traffic. Biscuit just barely outside of drafting range. Can't do anything to Forzarelli right now. Gonna be handicapped a bit by that BMW GT car. I thought they weren't gonna catch that traffic for a bit, but I was wrong. That was Byron PRG, and they've already disposed of him quite a bit sooner than I thought. Biscuit close enough to put some psychological pressure on Forzarelli, but not close enough to actually utilize the draft and fight with him right now. It's going to be a long time until they catch any more traffic here. Monica is still hanging out in third. If these two drivers got into it with each other, Monica could end up still stealing this win. I know it might be like, oh, come on, you're ridiculous. You're speaking evil into existence. But considering how chaotic we have seen, it seems like all drivers except Forzarelli has been involved in some sort of incident today in the hypercar category. Yeah, it could be very possible that these drivers got into it with each other, and Monica could still steal the win. It has been that kind of race in the hypercar category today. Coming up to the Porsche curbs again. Still nice clean air ahead, but it looks like Biscuit might be just close enough to barely catch the draft off of Forzarelli. Now catching him is going to be one thing. Making the overtake stick, that will be a whole nother. Ford chicanes once again. I think Biscuit's going to be close enough to have the draft on Forzarelli when they get to the Mulsanne straights again. Oh, forget that! He's going to be side by side with them as they go, or almost side by side with them as they go into the Dunlop Bridge. Forzarelli is cracking under pressure. Biscuit has 5.5 minutes. Well, he's caught him. He's got to do something with them. They will complete the entirety of this lap and have a little bit of the lap afterwards to make something happen. First of 4 consecutive straightaways here. Right now, no traffic. So right now, it's mano y mano, but they are going to catch traffic before this is over. Here comes the move. To the inside comes Biscuit. He lunges deep, going into the braking zone. Side by side, Biscuit completes the overtake around the outside. Biscuit goes to the lead, less than 5 minutes left. And immediately fires off and immediately pulls away from Forzarelli, almost as if Forzarelli was in a different category. So despite being involved in the chaos that took place earlier in the event, Biscuit has retaken the lead in the last 5 minutes here at Le Mans. Forzarelli just close enough to utilize the draft to try and fight back, though. That and traffic means that it's not 100% over yet. Draft will work now in the favor of Forzarelli, giving the BMW some kind of handout back. You can see Momonica in the background behind. Our hypercars come down to the Mulsanne corner. That is Cowlin, the Porsche, just ahead of him. Ooh, tire dropped into the dirt ever so briefly there by Biscuit. Forzarelli is now back there. Now he's the one in the attacking position. He's got the draft. Is he going to go for a big dive into Indianapolis? He's going for it. He's pulling to the inside. Biscuit trying to squeeze him down, but Forzarelli gets the car alongside, pushes him back wide. They've got a draft now on Polza. Who backs out first into here? Look at this run! They're going to be side by side, split him into Indianapolis, and Forzarelli goes back to the top. Forzarelli back to the front as the prototype split the GT car 3 wide in Indianapolis. And now out of Arnage and coming up to the Porsche curbs once again. All right, well, Biscuit's gotten by Forzarelli one time before. Can he do it again with only 3 minutes and a little bit of change left? It's going to be a little bit of clean track before they catch more traffic. Just about nose to tail, a little bit of bumper-to-bumper contact, it seems, between the top stars in the hypercar category. Momonica can still see this 2-0 ahead, but she's still not close enough to do anything with a big runoff line by Forzarelli. All right, into the Ford chicanes. It would be very high risk, high reward trying to make a move through here. Nothing crazy going through here, it seems. 2.5 minutes left, so these drivers are likely going to be able to make it to Mulsanne Corner, maybe to Indianapolis and Arnage, but I don't have confidence in that. I think they can make it to Mulsanne Corner, though. And you can hear Momonica is really running this duo down now, but she's going to be out of time. Bad run through that chicane by Biscuit. So the gap now opens up a bit more in Forzarelli's favor. If Forzarelli's far enough ahead to break the draft, that could be all it takes for Forzarelli to still pull this off, even though they got passed with 5 minutes left. They went for a crazy bonsai 3-wide overtake to get the lead back. Is that going to be enough for Forzarelli? They're wide coming onto the first of the Mulsanne straightaways. Biscuit has a good run, though. Is Biscuit close enough for the draft? I think he is. I think Biscuit's going to have a shot at the draft. Coming up on a little bit of traffic, though. Not going to be an issue for Forzarelli. Biscuit, can he clear the traffic before the braking zone? He'll clear the traffic before the braking zone as well. I don't think Momonica can, so this will likely take Momonica out of contention for this win here in category. A little bit more traffic just ahead of this duo, but they will catch them in a straight line as well. Biscuit has a fantastic run on Forzarelli. Less than 90 seconds left as they go down the second of 4 consecutive straightaways. Does Biscuit have what it takes to go for a big bonsai dive bomb into the second chicane? It's not close enough, not this time. Biscuit's looking. Biscuit's going to lunge deep, but not deep enough to get alongside, but he gets right there underneath that white BMW. He's now right behind him as they're coming up here to Mulsanne Corner. the heaviest braking zone. This is the final time they'll hit this stint. Is Biscuit gonna try and make the move? And Mulsanne corner, can he get close enough to make the move? There's still more traffic ahead, but I don't know if they're gonna catch them before the clock's up. Less than 40 seconds left. Both drivers smooth coming out of Mulsanne corner. Callan just got by Polza there for what would be fourth in GT, but the focus is in the lead on prototypes. 23 seconds to go. They're gonna whip it around one of the GT cars. There's another GT car ahead, but I don't think they'll catch them before the clock's up. They're gonna be rushing through Indianapolis and Arnage when the time goes up. Is Biscuit gonna have something for Forzarelli into the braking zone? Biscuit lunges his way in. He looks to the inside, side by side Indianapolis. He gets the nose ahead. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Time's up. Over. Plow. And I have no idea who's it's gonna be given to. They were in a perfect dead heat at the end. It was dead even between Forzarelli and Nibbles Biscuit, and I have no idea who got it between the two of them. It is completely impossible for me to tell who got it. I would not put even a cent on that. That was too close to call. That will likely have to be looked at post-event. And for a prototype event stint in stint 2 that had a lot of action until the last 15 minutes, this one had not much action until the last 10 to 15 minutes. Wild! And that is going to wrap up stint 3 here. We're going to take a Twitch mandated ad break, and when we come back, we will try to get some interviews from some of our top finishers in the categories. We'll be back momentarily here at Le Mans. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Le Mans. Real quickly, a rundown through the final results. We don't know who won in the prototype category between Forzarelli and Nibbles Biscuit. They were dead heat when the checkered flag came out. Could not tell who got it. Third place was Momonica, though they've already left, likely to get into the next lobby. Hershey is going to come home in fourth. Stinky Potato will be fifth in prototype. Sixth will be MRS Valteria. Seventh will be LMP Ragnar. And eighth will be Lear Art. In the GT category, your winner is White Wolf, just barely ahead of the prototype winners as well. So interesting little picture there. Kimmy is going to come home with another podium, a second place result. Scan Code, 3 straight podiums for this car, and Scan Code did it after being involved in an accident earlier that totaled the car. Incredible drive from them. Crazy Callan also was involved in an accident, but they pull off a 4th place result. Finally, some good runs for that Porsche. AFC Polza will come home with another top 5 result for that BMW team. Masiak Extra way farther back, but will be 6th in the Mercedes. 7th will be FFR Suisine. 8th in GT will be Arius Magnus. 9th will be Leo Perez. 10th will be PTG Stuzaby. 11th will be Boiled Bird 88. 12th will be VRT Palooza. Then after that will be Dukefly here, followed by HYZ Kochu, who just left, and Bayern PRG did continue to run to the end, although they will still be last place irregardless. And for the third straight stint, we have had no lag outs and no rage quits. All 23 teams that started stint 1 are still with us at the end of stint 3. Fantastic to see. I'm going to send some interview invites out to some of our top finishers in the categories now. All right, coming into the party right now is White Wolf. Let's see here. White Wolf, can you hear me? All right, White Wolf, can you include your audio in the Xbox party? In the Xbox party, there will be a little box that will say include audio. Can you see it? Here, let me try something. Can you see it? All right, awesome. Go ahead and hit that. All right, awesome. White Wolf, it was a very interesting run out there. You didn't start right at the front, but you, on sheer merit, ran everybody down and opened up a fantastic gap to an easy win. What do you have to say about your run out there?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, my team didn't have a great start to this to the 24 hours, but I did the best I can. I delivered very well, and I just love the combo of the BMW in the night. So that was just great work.
All right, a lot of different drivers chose the BMW for this event. I want to know for you, why did you choose the BMW? Did you just like the BMW? Do you think it has a particular strength? Were other people the ones that? Why were you in the BMW for this event?
Well, to be honest, I just love it because when I unlocked it through the missions, I just loved it from the start. So it was an easy choice for me.
It's hard to separate a driver and a car that they love. I completely understand that. But
Exactly,
okay.
exactly.
All right, I have to ask, who is going to take over the car in stint 4?
Well, actually, I'm doing a double stint.
Oh, well, in that case, I'll let you go now then so you can get ready for that in that case. But I do want to say, hey, thanks for jumping in and talking with us.
You're welcome, and thank you.
All right. And
Bye
that is
bye.
the, yep, and that's the word from White Wolf, your winner in GT. I'm going to try and see if we can get anything from Forza Rally real quickly. I'm not going to wait forever, but I do want to send that invite out anyway. We still are not 100% sure who won between Forza Rally and Nibbles Biscuit for that stint finish. Also, while I can't confirm it, I do think that Scan Code 07, despite being involved in the incident earlier, will still be leading out of all of the GT3 category cars in the bottom split. In the prototypes, though, with how chaotic this race was, I have no idea who's leading in prototypes. I cannot hope to hope to answer that at all. All right, I'm only going to wait a little bit longer. I'm not going to wait forever for another interview here because I do eventually need to get into the next lobby to prepare the Stint 4 broadcast. Well, Stint 1, kind of a moderate amount of action all the way through with a fun little fight for second in GT to the end. Stint 2, not a lot of stuff going on. The GT's got a little bit more fighty early on, but it was relatively calm in Stint 2. Stint 3, chaos and anarchy in the hypercar category from pretty much start to end. There was a bit of a lull in the midpoint where everyone was kind of resetting up where they were going to be, but still ended up with a dead heat finish that we have no idea who won for. GTs were a little bit more straightforward, but still had their interesting little bits and bobs there. With that said, I am covering 6 straight stints for this event, and 3 of them are now down, and unless someone else jumps into the party in about the next 30 seconds, we are going to probably close this broadcast here momentarily and start up the new broadcast for Stint 4 in about a minute and a half to 2 minutes right afterwards. But I do want to say to everyone who has joined us thus far, thank you very much for joining us. We still are not done at Le Mans. There's a lot more racing to still be had here. So yeah, I've been your host for today's broadcast in St. Lear 13. I will see you all in about a minute and a half to 2 minutes for the Stint 4 broadcast. Until then, farewell and goodbye, everybody.